Hello, everyone. Tonight, let us journey to a world of exuberant sound, dazzling color, and unbridled, joyous abandon. Forget the quiet solemnity we've often explored, the relentless daily grind, or the rigid confines of castle walls. Tonight, we're stepping right into the vibrant, pulsating heart of medieval feasts and festivals. These weren't just events, they were glorious, cherished moments when the ceaseless toil of daily life was joyfully cast aside for an explosion of communal celebration. Imagine a time when entertainment wasn't passively streamed on a screen, but dynamically performed live before your very eyes, when food was a breathtaking spectacle and music filled every corner of the air, all without the flick of a switch, the glow of electricity, or any of the modern luxuries we take for granted. The rhythmic calendar of joy, more than just Sundays, life in the Middle Ages, while often undeniably harsh, unforgiving, and uncertain, was, quite crucially, punctuated by a surprisingly rich tapestry of numerous feast days and vibrant festivals. These weren't just haphazard gatherings, they were deeply intertwined with both the solemn rhythms of the Christian calendar and the vital, cyclical pulse of the agricultural year. These weren't mere casual holidays, as we know them. They were absolutely vital social outlets, profound moments for communal bonding, and a much needed, eagerly anticipated respite from the relentless, back-breaking labor that defined most lives. Beyond the weekly obligation of Sunday Mass, the year was dotted with dozens of saints' days, each a mini holiday, major Christian festivals like the solemn yet hopeful Easter, the purely joyful Christmas, and the vibrant Pentecost. Alongside these sacred observances, there were equally crucial secular celebrations tied directly to the harvest, the turning of the seasons, or deeply ingrained local traditions that stretched back generations. Imagine a world where the entire community participated, where a feast was not simply a meal, but an expansive, multi-sensory event that stretched across hours, sometimes even days, joyfully involving everyone from the Lord presiding in his great hall to the humblest peasant in the village square. Every person had a role, every voice added to the chorus of celebration, the grandeur of a noble feast, a feast for all senses. Let us first draw back the imaginary curtains and envision a noble feast within the sprawling, echoing great hall of a magnificent castle. Perhaps it's a celebration of a wildly successful harvest, the momentous arrival of a visiting royal dignitary, or the joyous culmination of a strategic wedding alliance that will reshape kingdoms. The hall itself, typically a cavernous, somewhat smoky space due to the central hearth, would be utterly transformed for such an occasion. Its cold, formidable stone walls would be draped with rich, heavy tapestries, often depicting thrilling scenes of heroic hunting, chivalric battles, or mythical beasts, helping not only to insulate the vast space and add crucial warmth, but also to tell vivid stories and impress the high-born guests. Tables, usually long, sturdy trestle tables, would be set up with meticulous care, covered with fine, often embroidered linen for the nobility at the elevated high table, and rougher, coarser cloths for those of lesser status seated further down the hall. There were no individual plates for every single diner. Instead, guests would often share trenchers, thick, day-old slices of stale bread that ingeniously served as edible plates, soaking up the savory juices of the food. Later, these saturated trenchers would often be gathered and charitably given to the poor waiting outside the castle gates, a practical act of mercy and waste reduction. Cutlery was minimal. A personal knife was common for cutting meat, but forks were a rare, exotic, and relatively new Italian invention, still viewed with suspicion by many as an effeminate affectation. So most people ate with their hands, often with incredible gusto and joyful messiness, tearing at meat and dipping bread. The food itself was a true spectacle, a flamboyant, almost theatrical testament to the Lord's immense wealth, boundless hospitality, and sophisticated taste. Imagine enormous, glistening roasted meats, brought in with immense ceremony, often to the triumphant blare of trumpets and the rolling boom of drums. A whole roasted boar, frequently presented with an apple still in its mouth. Roasted swans or peacocks, meticulously redressed in their vibrant, iridescent feathers to appear as if alive, a truly magnificent and slightly bizarre sight, and massive, succulent joints of beef, venison, or other game, carved with flourish by skilled carvers. These culinary centerpieces would be accompanied by an abundance of rich, flavorful stews simmering for hours in vast cauldrons, savory pies bursting with fillings, fresh, crusty bread baked moments before in the castle's immense ovens, and exotic, precious spices like pepper, cinnamon, ginger, and saffron, imported at colossal cost from distant, legendary lands. The mere presence of these spices on the table loudly proclaimed the host's far reaching connections, immense wealth, and elevated status. Sweet dishes, often honey based confections, fruit tarts sweetened with local honey, or almond milk puddings, would conclude the meal, a rare and delightful indulgence. Crucially, without refrigeration, food was either eaten immediately after preparation or meticulously preserved through time honored methods like heavy salting, smoking, or drying. Drink flowed freely and abundantly, fine, often strong wines, and potent ale for the nobility, and weaker, safer ale, often brewed on site, the fermentation process making it safer than water for the servants and common folk who might otherwise risk contaminated water. The entire process from cooking in massive smoky kitchens to the intricate choreographed dance of serving hundreds of guests was a highly coordinated effort, employing dozens, sometimes hundreds, of cooks, scullions, and servers, all operating with astonishing efficiency without a single modern appliance in sight. Entertainment at the table, a feast for the ears and eyes. But a medieval feast was emphatically far more than just eating. It was a complete sensory extravaganza, a multi-act performance designed to utterly delight and awe. Imagine the lively cacophony of sounds, the animated chatter of hundreds of voices mingling, the hearty clatter of tankards on wooden tables, and, crucially, the mesmerizing entertainment that unfolded before them. Minstrels and bards, often traveling professionals, who carried news and tales from far-flung lands, would perform captivating songs, recite epic poems of ancient heroes, and sing poignant ballads of love and loss, accompanying themselves on lutes, harps, flutes, or crude pipes. Jugglers might toss balls and knives with startling, dangerous dexterity, their skills honed by endless, solitary practice, while acrobats tumbled and contorted their bodies in astounding feats of strength and flexibility, defying gravity with simple movements. Jesters, with their sharp wits, quick comebacks, and humorous antics, would provide essential comedic relief, often delivering surprisingly incisive social commentary under the guise of foolishness, a unique freedom sometimes granted by their role. Sometimes, short plays with moral or religious themes, known as morality plays or mystery plays, were performed right there in the hall, engaging the audience with timeless dilemmas and sacred stories. The light, flickering from countless torches mounted on walls and beeswax candles arrayed on tables, would cast dancing shadows on the tapestried walls, adding to the dramatic and often mysterious atmosphere. Without recorded music or television, every single performance was a unique, ephemeral event, a demanding crucible of immense skill, raw talent, and an undeniable ability to captivate a live, demanding audience hungry for spectacle. Village festivals, community in joyful motion. Now, let's beautifully contrast this aristocratic display with a vibrant, often boisterous village festival, perhaps a truly raucous celebration of a successful harvest in late autumn, or a joyous spring festival marking new growth and the promise of abundance. Here, the emphasis shifted dramatically from noble display to uninhibited communal joy and spirited, widespread participation. The entire village would gather, dressed in their best, often simple clothes, the worn fabric freshly cleaned and mended for the occasion. Food would still be absolutely central, though less elaborate than a noble feast. Perhaps a communal roasting of a pig or ox, if the village was prosperous enough. Plenty of fresh, dense bread, baked in shared ovens, homemade cheese from local dairies, and abundant seasonal vegetables from the fields. Ale would flow freely and generously from large wooden barrels, often brewed by the villagers themselves, its quality varying wildly, but its spirit never failing. The entertainment at village festivals was profoundly participatory and deeply rooted in cherished tradition. Dancing was hugely popular and utterly infectious, with villagers forming joyous circles or long lines, performing lively folk dances to the infectious tune of simple pipes, rustic drums, or lively fiddles. Games were common and hotly contested, wrestling matches showcasing raw strength, archery contests testing skill, wild and chaotic stick and ball games, early forms of hockey or football, or competitive feats of strength like stone throwing. Storytelling was paramount, often under the vast, star studded medieval sky, with local elders or traveling tale tellers sharing ancient legends, humorous anecdotes, and moral fables around roaring, crackling bonfires. The warmth and light of the fire would draw people closer, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames, their eyes wide with wonder. There might be simple puppet shows or lively mummers' plays where costumed performers acted out traditional, often comedic, stories of saints or seasonal cycles, blending sacred and profane. Imagine the sheer uninhibited joy, the booming laughter that echoed through the night, the profound camaraderie, and the palpable sense of shared identity as the entire community came together, celebrating their resilience, their hard won good fortune, and simply the profound joy of being alive together. These festivals were a vital pressure release valve, a chance to forget the relentless hardships of the year and simply revel in human connection in its purest, most fundamental sense. Feasts and the intricate dance of social order, these diverse celebrations, whether grand or humble, also served a crucial, often subtle, purpose to reinforce the medieval social order. At a noble feast, seating arrangements were meticulously and strictly hierarchical, a visible, tangible manifestation of power and status. The lord and lady presided at the high table, often elevated on a dais above everyone else, symbolizing their supreme authority. They were followed by important guests, then various ranks of knights, squires, and finally servants further down the hall, sometimes even in a separate lower section, their place a visual reminder of their station. This visual hierarchy was a constant, undeniable reminder of one's precise place in society, a lesson absorbed with every glance. Even in villages, while gatherings were more communal and less rigidly formalized, there was an implicit understanding of roles, a quiet respect for elders, the most skilled artisans, or the wealthiest farmers in the community. The church, too, played a profound role, often blessing the festivities, leading processions, and subtly ensuring they did not stray too far into pagan revelry, even as it wisely absorbed many ancient pre-Christian traditions into its own Christian feast days, making conversion more palatable and life more continuous for the populace. Beyond the feast, the wider tapestry of merriment, beyond the mere act of communal eating, there were other spectacular forms of celebration that dotted the medieval calendar. Tournaments and jousts were perhaps the most visually stunning military displays for the nobility, drawing enormous crowds from miles around and providing thrilling, often brutal, entertainment. Knights in their gleaming, heavy armor competed in mock combat, showcasing their immense skill, courage, and horsemanship. These were highly theatrical events, filled with vibrant pageantry, colorful banners fluttering in the wind, the thunder of hoofs, and the deafening roar of the crowd as lances shattered and knights unhorsed each other in dramatic fashion. These events were as much about dazzling entertainment and social display as they were about military practice. Pilgrimages, while often arduous and dangerous journeys of spiritual devotion, also had strong elements of communal celebration. Travelers would share stories, sing hymns and folk songs together, building camaraderie on the road, and the act of arriving at a holy site was often met with immense joy, shared relief, and communal worship, cementing bonds between strangers who had faced adversity together. Even the triumphant construction of a new church, a vital bridge, or the completion of a major public work might be met with local celebration, a spontaneous feast to honor the immense communal effort and achievement that made it possible. The enduring power of shared experience. Ultimately, medieval feasts and festivals were incredibly powerful, deeply significant events in a world without constant external stimulation. Without the endless distractions of our digital age, these gatherings provided absolutely essential communal experiences. They allowed people to momentarily forget their relentless troubles, to forge new bonds, to strengthen existing ties, and to profoundly reaffirm their place within their society and their unwavering faith. They were loud, vibrant, often messy, sometimes gloriously chaotic, and utterly, beautifully human. They were precious moments when the grinding constraints of daily life loosened their grip, when the stark realities of mere survival were momentarily set aside, and when the simple yet profound joys of abundant food, captivating music, immersive storytelling, and uninhibited shared laughter filled the very air. These were the true gatherings of their time, connecting people in deep, meaningful ways that our modern, often isolated forms of entertainment frequently struggle to replicate. So, as you drift off to sleep, perhaps you can hear the faint, lingering echo of a minstrel's lute, the hearty, booming laughter from a crowded castle hall, or the joyous, rhythmic stomp of dancing feet around a crackling bonfire, its smoke spiraling up into the vast, ancient night sky. Imagine the rich, earthy smells of roasted meat and fresh baked bread, and the vibrant, bustling tapestry of human connection in a world that, despite its hardships, knew how to truly, deeply celebrate life. Good night.